Well, welcome out to the timber frame build this morning. We are so glad you're following along with this content. We got more exciting things to show you this morning. This has been a cool process to continually show more and more of the process and what's going on with the house. Well, right here where I'm standing is the front porch. So it may not look like a front porch right now, but we're gonna have two timbers right here that frame this front entry and this beautiful front door behind me. But until we get to that point, let's show you more details about what we got going on. So right now, we have been backfilling the foundation. So we've been putting stone around the outside. We're using number 6 limestone to fill up around the outside, so we got great drainage. The other thing we're doing on the outside is we're putting the downspout tiles in. So come over here, let's look at the details on some of that. So we've got downspout tiles that are going in around the house. We've tied them all together and they come all to a central point. So what we're doing here is we're actually running 4-inch downspout tiles. So this is SDR 35 pipe. It's 4-inch. It goes all the way around the perimeter, and at certain points around the perimeter we're switching to 6-inch. So we're going to have a 6-inch outlet on the side. That 6-inch outlet, like we talked about in the site considerations with the utilities, that's going to be all our storm water, and that actually heads out to the creek. So we're actually going to tie that in to a pipe that heads all the way out and gives us great drainage around the property. Well, you'll also see here we have this detail, and this is some foam. This is our thermal barrier. So if you know that ground temperatures are usually around 55 degrees, well, this is a barrier to protect against that. So it's all year long it's 55, but in the winter it can freeze around the outside and that frost can go down. Well, we put this on to protect this concrete, to keep that concrete from being exposed to those really cold temperatures. So this is our thermal barrier. It also provides a little bit of drainage as the water, when the water comes up, it goes down the side of this. So this is closed cell foam. This is 1 inch thick, but actually behind that is what we're calling our water and moisture barrier. So that's a sprayed on finish, and that's our really durable protective layer from any water that's coming around the house. So those are the barriers we're putting on the outside, and that's protecting the house from the temperatures and the moisture. Well, we got some details in the basement that I want to show you. We got our radon system, we got our moisture and air barrier down there, and we got our foam in the floor. So let's head down there. I'm going to show you a few details with that, and we'll catch up when we get down there. So let's head that way. Well, welcome down to the basement. We got some details to show you down here. As you can see behind me, we got the radiant in the floor already. So you can see that PEX tubing running through the floor. But before we talk about the PEX tubing, let's start from the ground up, and I'll show you all the details that we did to get to the point of putting the PEX in. So the first thing that we do is we put some foam down. So this here is going to be the elevator shaft. So this is going to be the actual finished floor. So we actually stop that vapor barrier before we get there, because this floor is not going to get poured on top of. It's not going to get that floor slab on it. So underneath here, you can see that we have our foam down. So the first thing we do after we put the stone in is we come and we put this foam down. So this foam is 1.5 inches thick, and this is going to provide the thermal barrier against the ground temperatures to keep that heat pushing up from the radiant. The next thing we do is we put down that moisture and vapor barrier, which is the Stego product. So you might be saying, oh yeah, we usually use like Visqueen or plastic. Well, this is a 15 mil plastic, and this is actually engineered specifically to go under slabs. So this is a durable product. The way they make this is specific to go right under concrete, and is super durable. It gives you special details where you can tape the seams, so they have tape products. They also have this, and this is called Crete Claw, and this goes around the outside, and it actually makes a bond to the cement. So when we're talking about concerns with radon and moisture, we want to make sure all the way around the whole outside of this thing that we have an amazing bond with the cement, so no moisture or radon gas can come up and get between the vapor barrier and the cement. So we've got that detail in place. We've gone around the whole outside and we've put this Crete Claw on. We've taped all our seams with this red tape. That was the first thing we did before we put it down. But today we actually have to use another product from Stego, and this is their mastic. So when we come to a certain point where we can't get the tape to seal, or we have dissimilar materials where we have to seal against concrete or steel or PVC, this mastic is a good option for that because it'll seal this plastic to whatever material we have. So we're gonna put this detail on, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we're gonna walk down to the other end, and I'll show you some PEX details, and then when we get to the other end, we'll go ahead and start using that mastic. So let's head down to the other end, and I'll show you those details as we walk along. All right, well, these are the manifolds for our radiant system. So we haven't talked much about the radiant system yet, but we're gonna introduce that more as the project unfolds. But this is actually from Warmboard. So they have radiant products that go in under slab and in the floor systems of the house, and we're using radiant throughout this entire home. But downstairs, we're actually putting the radiant in the slab. So these manifolds come directly from Warmboard. They actually are labeled specific for the job, and they actually are designed exactly for the space that we have. So we send our drawings to Warmboard. They come back and design the whole system for us and send us all the products that we need specific to locations and sizes that we need for this home. So you can see this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 port manifold, and all the loops for this end of the house go into this manifold. This manifold will eventually have a receiver on it that's directed by the boiler to open and close these loops as needed. So this is a pretty high-tech system, but it's also got good nuts and bolts with the manifold and all the products. So we'll be talking about that more in different videos as we move up through the house, but that's what we got going on to start, is we got this manifold system with this PEX for the basement. So let's keep going down to the other end of the house, and we're gonna talk about radon, and we're gonna talk about this mastic and how we're gonna use this mastic out. All right, well, we're down at the far end of the house, and we have a few details down here that we want to show you, specifically this one here, which is our radon system. So this is going to be a passive radon system. So there's two different types of radon systems. There's passive and there's active, and it depends on how much radon gas you have in your house on which system you need. But every house can start with a passive system, and it can be moved to an active system if the gas count is high. So this is going to start as a passive system. And what that means is this pipe goes about 10 foot that way and 10 foot that way in the floor, and it has holes in it so it can absorb that radon gas. And then this pipe here will actually go all the way up and out the roof. So any radon gas coming from underneath the floor will flow into this pipe and out the roof. Radon gas is extremely dangerous in a home, and it can cause many health problems. So it's important to put a system like this in just to protect against that. This being 10 foot and 10 foot of pipe is a very, very, very inexpensive system. Even if you have to get an active system, it's very inexpensive because the only difference between an active system and a passive system is that you have a fan booster on this pipe before it heads out the roof. So it'll actually suck the air rather than just letting the gases come up and out. But anyway, this pipe here is our radon system, and what we have to do today is we have to use this mastic around all our pipe penetrations so that we can seal around those and make sure no gases can come up around those pipes or no water can get up around those pipes as well. So we talked about the tape earlier, and the tape is really good for taping seams. The tape can be used around pipes if you have a nice penetration or cut, but this mastic makes it super easy because you can just brush this on and it can flow and actually go around all the penetrations. So you can see here, we got this tape around here and this plastic really close. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this mastic and we're just gonna brush it in here. And it's pretty thick stuff, so it's gonna fill all these gaps, and it's gonna dry and seal around there and make this an air and watertight connection, so we don't have to worry about any gases or moisture coming up around this pipe. So it basically fills right in there. You can take a big old dollop of it and jam it right in there, and it fills that whole gap up. So pretty much just like that, and you got a sealed connection there between that pipe and the floor. Well, let's go around and let's do a couple other ones here. These here pipes are going to be for our condensate lines. So there's going to be a boiler up here on the wall above this. That boiler is going to have a condensation line that comes down and flows right into this drain here. So this is another connection that we need to make and seal that up. So because of the radon gas in the floor, we actually have a trap underneath this pipe. So any water that comes in here goes through the trap and it sits in that trap so no air can come back through. So this is going to be a nice sealed penetration here. So that's done. Over here, we've got our steel posts. So like we talked about in other videos, we got timbers that are going to sit on top of these posts, and these transfer right down onto the footings of the house. But you can see when we put this stego wrap down, we had to stop it so that we could put these posts in. So after we set these posts, we actually put grout in underneath them to transfer that load down well. So now we just need to seal between the stego wrap and this concrete so that no air can slide up through there. So we're just gonna go ahead and put this on. Super easy. This stuff just goes on. It's easy to work with and it seals really nice. If you tried to do this with tape, the tape would be coming off and all sorts of stuff. So it's a real easy process to just smear that on. Takes about 30 seconds and you're off to the next one. So we've got that sealed right up against that concrete. So we got another one over here, and we're going to go ahead and smear that on there. So we're going to go around and do the rest of these, and then I'm going to step back and we're going to take a look at the other manifold and those sump pins down there and talk about that real quick. So let me do this quick and we'll catch right back up. All right, we got all those posts and pipes sealed around, but I want to talk about the special details that we got to take in consideration for these sump pits. So we are going to take this mastic and seal around these sump pits, but the thing we have to do here is, because these have footer tiles running into them, we actually have to seal this from the top. So after we pour the concrete, and the concrete's going to come up around the edge here, we're actually going to take a sealed cap and put it around here. It's going to have a gasket on the outside, and it's going to seal out any radon gas that might come up around the edges or up through that footer tile pipe. But we're going to make sure that we seal around this whole thing and get it up to the side and as sealed as possible. So you can see down here we use a series of the tape and the mastic. The tape just bridges that gap because these are hard cutouts to make when you come around here with the plastic. So the guys got as close as they could, but we used a little bit of the tape to just bridge a little bit of that gap right up against the side. So the tape is super sticky. It seals really nice to this plastic. You just got to push it down and kind of smooth it out, and it seals right up against there. So we got that tape on there. This mastic, being so thick like this, can actually bridge a lot of those gaps as well. So another detail that I wanted to talk about is around the outside. So around the outside here, you can see that we put this crete claw down. Well, like I said, this is a mechanical bond to the concrete, so it seals really well to the stego below, and then it'll seal really well to the concrete above. But we'll pour that concrete all the way up against the wall, and after that concrete's poured, we'll come along the top and we'll caulk that seam between the two pieces of concrete. So if those concrete have a little bit of a gap there, that's all sealed. No gas can come up against the outside. On our concrete walls, you can see they put a brick pattern. Well, if the concrete comes here and doesn't fill that gap perfectly, we could have air gaps up around the outside. So we'll make sure we seal all that and go around the outside. Well, these are a few of the details that we want to talk about in the basement. We're going to go up to the top and talk about a few details up there with the garage and the pool room floor, but they're not quite done with that, so we're going to actually wait a couple days and go up there and show you that. So come back in a couple days and we'll go up there and show you all those details as well. So thanks for coming out. Well, welcome back out today at the timber frame build. So last time we were out here, we talked about the details down in the basement. Well, the basement has been poured now, so they got that slab poured down there. We'll show you some clips of that, but they poured the whole thing about 4.5 inches thick. Got that done. The radiant heat and everything looks great down there. But I wanted to show you a few details up here on the top of the drainage in the garage and the drainage in the pool room. So over here in the garage, we're actually going to have some trench drains in here. So we got these slabs poured because our trench drains are actually going to sit on top of these slabs. So we have to pour this first as a good foundation for that drain so it gets to be able to be set at the proper height. We'll go ahead and we'll cut these off right here or down here, wherever that drain outlet needs to go. We'll put those in, and then we're going to put the rest of the foam down in here, wire mesh and radiant heat in this room. So this room will look just like the basement with the stego wrap, the foam, the wire mesh, and the radiant heat. But these here are prepped for our floor drains. Well, over here in the pool room, let's walk over here because we had some more action in this room as well. So the pool guys have been working over here and they have their coping poured. So if you remember, we talked about this coping, and what this is the first about 1.5 feet here around the pool, where this is a nice solid ledger for the pool. We poured this in a dark concrete because the floor in here is going to get slate on it, so we tried to match that as well. We're going to have a nice drain that goes right around the edge here, so any water that comes out of the pool will go right into this drain. That drain will go out and that will tie into the same line as all the storm water for the house. So we got this coping poured, we got the pool ready to go. Next step for this room is to get it completely backfilled and do the plumbing. So the pool guys have their lines run in here. Some of these will get tied into the heater so we can heat the pool and interchange that water through the filtration system. These here are for the controls. So we have a little pool mechanical room going in right here, and this will service the HVAC equipment for that pool room and everything else. So we got a little bit more to do here to backfill this up, but we're gonna have a drain in the floor. We're gonna have a bathroom behind me here. So this room is coming along, but these are some of the first details that we have going on in here. Well, behind me, you can see the guys are starting to prep for the cap on top of the safe room. So that safe room is going to be a bunker style safe room where it's going to be completely encapsulated in concrete. We're going to have a safe door on it. So they're working on getting the form set up for the cap on there. All right, well, we're out here at the timber frame for the last day here. We're talking about the slabs and the backfill. So I wanted to go through a couple details that we put into this garage floor, and I want to show you how we do the PEX in here. So you can see that the PEX is all laid out in the floor. Well, there's different loops in the floor. So we have a certain distance that we can go for each loop so that each one heats evenly around the edges. Well, down here, you can see where all the PEX comes through the sleeve that we put in the wall, and it comes down to this manifold. Each port on that manifold hooks up to either the supply or the return of one of these loops that's in this floor. This manifold will eventually get mainline supplies coming from the boiler that provide the hot water, goes through the loops, comes back out, and goes back to the return. So each one of these, you can see we wrote on there the length of each one of the loops in here. That's so when we dial in the fine tuning at the end, we can make sure that we regulate that water speed coming through each line specific to each one of those loops. So we got each one of those set up. We got this whole garage floor laid out. We got these loops laid out on 9-inch centers. So that's specific from Warm Board. They do all the engineering on that, and they tell us exactly where to put those. So this is the garage floor. We got this ready to pour. We're going to pour this yet this week. But I wanted to show you the details before we got that poured. It's got the Stego wrap, it's got the foam, it's got the drains in there like we were talking. When the concrete guys come, they'll actually cut those pipes off and set those drains right on top of that footer piece that they poured in there, and then they'll pour their concrete right up to it. So this is the garage. We got this ready to go. Let's check out the pool room. We got the radiant in the floor over there as well. So we'll spin around and we'll check that out. All right. Well, we got this room ready to go. We got all the plumbing in the floor. We got the radiant floor heat in here. This radiant floor heat in here is a little different than the others. This was not supplied by Warm Board. We actually did this engineering ourselves, but the main reason for this is just to keep the floors warm. So this isn't going to be the main heat source in this room. This is going to be a floor warming. So they can turn this on and keep this pool room floor warm when they're swimming in here in the winter or in those cool months that they want to have that floor warm. So this won't actually be the main heat source. We'll have a forced air unit in here that runs on and off with the dehumidification system and all the other systems that we have in here. So you'll see this is actually 5/8 PEX, and this is run on 12-inch centers, so we can just keep that floor warming available. Well, like I also was talking in earlier videos, we got this drain here put in. So this drain runs around the exterior of the pool. This coping actually slopes back here a little bit. So this slopes this way, this floor will slope this way, and this will pick up any water that comes off the pool. This drain comes and ties around here and goes into the drain, but it has this rubber gasket on top that's a protective piece here, so when they pour the concrete, this will actually get taken out of here. We'll take this out and we'll put the finished cap in there at the end. So the finished color here is gray to match the coping and the slate that's going to go in there. So we set this to the right height and we push that down. We get that all pinned in there, and then when they pour the concrete, that'll go around it. A couple other details over here in this pool mechanical room. We talked about some of the plumbing piece here for the pool to get that hot water interchanged in there to keep that pool warm. But we also have our manifold for the radiant heat. We got a couple drains here for the condensation. So in this pool room, in the pool mechanical room, there's going to be a dehumidification system. And that system is going to take all the humidity out of the air, and it's going to put it into this drain here, and it's going to recycle it back in the pool. So you can imagine if they're swimming in here and it's taking all the moisture out of the air, well, it's actually just evaporating it off the pool. So if we didn't recirculate that back, they'd be constantly having to fill that pool with more water. So we got the system in here that when we take it out of the air, it puts it right back into the pool. So it keeps that water level in the pool at a good water level. They never have to refill it because of the way we are running our systems. We also have drainage in here in case there's a water leak. This is going to be a floor drain in the middle, but we got this pool room all set up. All right, the last thing I wanted to show you is that we have the cap poured on the safe room. So let's go down the basement. I'll show you how we did that, and I'll show you some of the details there. So let's head down the basement and we'll check out that safe room. All right, well, we're down here by the safe room, and let's check out the details that we did in order to pour that cap on top. So if you remember, when we poured the walls, we had a form in here. Well, we've taken that form out, so we got just concrete now that we can bolt that door to. But inside here, we wanted to pour a cap on top, so this room is completely encapsulated in concrete. So this could be a safe room, this could be, you know, a place that you could store different things that you wanted to keep it safe, almost like a in-home safe. So if you come in here, you can see it's a little echoey, but we've got metal on the ceiling that we put down. This is sheet metal, and we've built up this cribbing down here in order to support that metal so we can pour the concrete. The concrete's actually poured, it's hard. We're just gonna go ahead and pull this cribbing out of here, and then that will hold itself up there. When we come in here to finish it out, we'll just tap con wood to the ceiling so we can drywall the ceiling. We'll put some slats on the wall and we'll drywall this whole thing and make this look nice in here. We can put some lights in here as well. We can drill in a little wire here and bring that in and then seal that up. So we got this safe room poured. We'll keep showing you more details with this as we go along because this is a pretty cool room. It's a pretty neat piece to this project. So this is the safe room. We got it ready to go and we'll catch you next time.